The morning light over Fort Viral military base didn't feel warm. It felt controlled, like even the sun had to pass clearance before touching the ground. Massive steel gates stood locked in layers of security. Surveillance towers tracked every movement. Armored vehicles moved in silent precision, their engines barely audible under the hum of encrypted communications. This was not a place where strangers wandered in. And yet one had just arrived. She stood alone at the outer checkpoint. No escort, no convoy, no military badge. Just a young woman who looked like she had taken a wrong turn off a highway and ended up in the most restricted zone in the country. Her outfit was simple, too simple for a place like this. A dark blue fitted t-shirt, slightly faded black cargo pants, and combat boots that had clearly seen real terrain. Her hair was tied into a high ponytail, practical but slightly messy, as if she had been traveling for hours without pause. A small backpack hung from one shoulder. No insignia, no identification visible from a distance. But there was something about her presence that didn't match her appearance. Not fear, not nervousness. Control. Two guards at the first gate noticed her immediately. Civilian, one muttered, adjusting his rifle strap. Lost tourist, more like it, the other replied with a short laugh. But the senior guard, a tall man with sharp eyes and years of base experience, didn't laugh. He stepped forward. His voice was firm. "Stop right there." The girl did. Not because she was ordered to, but because she already intended to. The wind moved slightly, brushing past the gate structure. The security lights blinked softly as scanners adjusted to her presence. The senior guard studied her. "State your name and purpose," he demanded. The girl reached into her pocket. No sudden movement, no hesitation. That alone made two guards shift their stance slightly. From her pocket, she pulled out a black card. It wasn't glossy like a credit card. It was matte, deep black, almost absorbing light instead of reflecting it. A faint metallic emblem was embedded in one corner, barely visible unless the angle changed. The guard stared at it, then at her. A brief silence followed. One of the younger guards chuckled nervously. "Is that supposed to impress us?" Another smirked. "What is this, some kind of VIP nightclub pass?" The senior guard didn't laugh, but his eyes narrowed. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "this is a military installation. That card means nothing here unless it's registered in our system." The girl tilted the card slightly. The emblem caught the sunlight for a fraction of a second. And somewhere inside the gatehouse, a machine beeped. Then another. A scanning terminal near the checkpoint flickered. The technician inside frowned. "Sir, the external scanner just picked up something unusual." The senior guard didn't take his eyes off the girl. "Define unusual." The technician hesitated. "It's trying to bypass authentication layers." A pause. Then the system beeped again, louder this time. The guard's tone sharpened. "Shut it down, it's a false reading." But before anyone could move, the main checkpoint monitor lit up. "Unknown device deactivated." The guards outside noticed the shift in atmosphere immediately. The laughter stopped. The girl didn't react. She simply waited. The system inside the gatehouse started running automatic verification protocols. Layer 1, identity scan. Layer 2, biometric search. Layer 3, global military database cross-check. Each step failed instantly. The technician's face changed. "That's not normal. Nothing should be bypassing layers like this." The senior guard pressed his radio. "Command, we have an unidentified access attempt at Gate 3, requesting system override confirmation." A second passed. Then two. Then a voice came through the radio. But it wasn't the command center. It was deeper, more encrypted, almost distant. Verification denied. The guard frowned. Who is this? Silence. Then the system inside the gatehouse reacted. The main screen suddenly went black. Every guard outside instinctively shifted their grip on their weapons. The girl finally spoke. Her voice was calm, level, almost quiet enough to be mistaken for wind. I'm not here to force entry. A pause. Then she added, I'm here because I already have clearance. The senior guard narrowed his eyes. That's not how clearance works. A faint pause followed. Then, the screens inside the gatehouse flickered back on. But now they displayed something different. A warning banner in red. Classified protocol ACTIVATD. The technician stepped back. Sir, I didn't trigger anything. The system continued. Authorization check, in progress. The guards outside began to feel it now. Something was changing. Not physically, but in the atmosphere, like the base itself had become aware of something it didn't understand. The senior guard raised his voice. Ma'am, put the card down and step away from the gate. The girl didn't move. Instead, she asked a simple question. Do you know what happens when your system finds something it was never designed to recognize? No one answered. The system answered for them. Inside the gatehouse, every screen turned white for half a second. Then, a single line appeared. Access level, beyond classification scale. The guards went silent. The senior guard blinked. That's impossible, there are only 7 clearance tiers. The technician whispered, Sir, this is showing something above tier 0. The radio crackled again. A new voice came through, this time sharper, more urgent. Hold your position, do not engage. The guards stiffened. The girl finally lifted her eyes. And for the first time, someone noticed something behind her calm expression. Not arrogance, not fear, but distance. Like she was already somewhere else mentally, somewhere far beyond this gate, this base, this moment. The senior guard lowered his voice slightly. Who exactly are you? The girl looked at him, then at the massive gates behind him, and finally said, I'm the one your system has been trying to forget. The black card in her hand gave off a faint pulse of light. And deep inside Fort Viral's network, a hidden protocol that had remained dormant for years, just woke up. The moment the black card pulsed, Fort Viral stopped feeling like a military base. It felt like a sealed container. Something had just cracked inside it. Inside the gatehouse, every screen shifted at once. Not one by one. All at the same time. The technician staggered back. Sir, I didn't run any manual command. The system is self-triggering. The senior guard's eyes narrowed. Self-triggering doesn't exist in military protocols. But the screens disagreed. Initiating Deep Archive Protocol. A heavy silence dropped across the entire checkpoint. Even the wind outside the gate felt quieter, like it was waiting for permission to move. The girl stood still. Her black card now rested loosely between her fingers, but it wasn't just a card anymore. It looked like a key that had finally found its lock. The senior guard raised his voice slightly. Command, we need immediate system shutdown at Gate 3. Unknown breach of classified network. A pause came through the radio. Then, a different channel opened. Not command. Not regional HQ. Something deeper. Do not shut it down. The guards froze. The technician whispered, Sir, that's coming from internal sovereign access. The senior guard frowned. What does that even mean? No one answered him. Because the system itself responded. ACCSSING, Forbidden Military ARCHIVES Level, Black Veil. The words appeared on every screen. Even the handheld scanners started rebooting on their own. One of the younger guards stepped back. This isn't normal. We're not even authorized to see half of this system layer. The senior guard turned sharply. Then why is it opening? The answer came instantly. A file loaded. Then another. And suddenly, a blurred image appeared on the main terminal. A silhouette. A soldier standing in front of a burning battlefield. No face visible. Armor unlike anything in standard military design. Advanced tactical suit with no identifiable insignia. Under it, subject classification, black card holder. The guards looked at each other. Black card holder, one muttered, that's her. The technician shook his head. No, that's not a name, that's a designation. The girl finally moved slightly. Just a small shift of weight. But every guard noticed. Because it felt like she was reacting, not to surprise but to confirmation. The system continued. File status, SEALED by Directive Omega null. The senior guard's expression tightened. I've never heard of that directive. The technician swallowed. No one has, sir, not at our level. The radio crackled again. A new voice entered. Lower controlled, older. Confirm visual on subject. The senior guard responded immediately. We have a female civilian at Gate 3 presenting unauthorized access device. System is. He stopped mid-sentence. Because the screen interrupted him. Identity scan complete. A pause. Then, match found. The entire gatehouse went silent. Even the air conditioning hum seemed to fade. The technician leaned closer to the screen. Sir, it found a match. The senior guard narrowed his eyes. A match to what? The system didn't wait. Another file opened. This time it wasn't blurred. It was structured. Military record format. Highly encrypted. Then partially decrypted line by line. Name. Status, non-existent in public military database. Clearance above all registered levels. Role, system override authority. The senior guard took a slow step forward. That's not a real classification. The system responded immediately. Confirmed real classification. The guards outside began to feel something shift in their instincts. Not fear exactly. Something heavier. Uncertainty. The girl finally spoke again. Still calm. Still steady. You're looking at the wrong part of the system. The senior guard frowned. What does that mean? She looked at the terminal inside the gatehouse, not at him. It means you're trying to identify me using rules I helped design. A beat of silence. Then the technician whispered, help design. The system reacted again. Faster this time. Almost defensive. Warning, subject has administrative origin access. The screens flickered violently. One of the guards stepped back. Sir, the system is reacting like she's internal authority. The senior guard's grip tightened. That's impossible. No civilian has that level of access. The girl tilted her head slightly. I'm not a civilian. The words were simple, but they landed like a weight. The system continued, unlocking deeper layers. Project Black Veil, initiation records. Year RDSTD. Status, origin point established. A new file loaded. This time, a partially visible video frame. A room filled with military officials, faces blurred, a table surrounded by encrypted consoles. And at the center of it, a figure standing in front of them. Small silhouette. Same posture. Same presence. The guard stared. That's her, one whispered. The technician shook his head. This footage is classified at a level that shouldn't even exist in this network. The system suddenly paused, then displayed a final line. Subject was never deployed. A long silence followed. The senior guard turned slowly toward the girl. Never deployed, he repeated. The girl finally met his eyes. For the first time, her expression changed slightly. Not emotion, not fear, but something colder. Finality. I wasn't deployed, she said softly. I was contained. The entire gatehouse went still. Even the system seemed to hesitate. The radio crackled one last time. But this time, no voice came through. Only static. Then, the system displayed a final warning across every screen. Containment breach deity. And in that moment, Fort Viral military base stopped being a checkpoint. It became something else entirely. A place trying to decide whether it was safe to remain online. The alarm at Fort Viral didn't sound like a normal alert anymore. It sounded personal. A deep, layered tone rolled through the base like a warning that had been buried for years and was now forced into the open. Every soldier inside the perimeter felt it at the same time. Not just heard it, felt it. Inside the gatehouse, the screens were still flashing. Containment breach deity. But now a second line appeared beneath it. Authority response required, level Omega command. The senior guard straightened instantly. Omega command. The technician's face went pale. Sir, that's above base jurisdiction. That's direct command authority. Before anyone could process it fully, the distant sound of helicopter blades cut through the air. Vast. Controlled. Approaching with urgency. The guards at the gate looked up. A black military helicopter descended beyond the second perimeter line, landing with precision that showed it wasn't rushing. It was arriving exactly when it chose to. The dust hadn't even settled when the door opened. Boots hit the ground, and the atmosphere shifted again. A man stepped out. No introduction, no announcement. But every soldier immediately recognized the posture. Commander-level authority. He wore a dark tactical uniform without visible insignia, except for a thin silver line across his shoulder, barely noticeable unless you knew what it meant. His face was sharp, controlled, unreadable. Commander Elias Rourke. He didn't look at the guards first. He looked directly at the gatehouse screens. Then at the girl. The entire checkpoint fell silent. Even the system seemed to pause, as if recognizing something familiar. Commander Rourke walked forward slowly, each step deliberate. The senior guard immediately straightened. Sir, we have an unidentified subject presenting a black clearance device. System has gone into full archive activation. Rourke didn't respond right away. His eyes stayed on the girl. After a long pause, he finally spoke. So it's you. The guards froze. The girl didn't move. Didn't react. But something subtle shifted in her gaze. Recognition. The senior guard looked confused. Sir, you know her. Rourke raised one hand slightly. The gesture was enough. Silence. Not enforced. Accepted. He stepped closer to the gatehouse terminal, studying the scrolling data. Project Black Veil. Subject classification, active origin node. Status, CONTANID entity. His jaw tightened slightly. That program was terminated, he said quietly. The technician shook his head. Sir, the system is saying it was never fully shut down. Rourke's eyes narrowed. Impossible. The girl finally spoke again. Her voice was steady, but now it carried something heavier. You stopped the project on paper, she said, not in reality. The commander turned toward her fully now. For the first time, his expression wasn't fully controlled. There was something behind it. History. Burden. Why are you here? He asked. A simple question, but not simple in meaning. The girl looked at the black card in her hand, then back at him. I came because the system woke up on its own, she said. That means something inside your network is broken. Rourke exhaled slowly, or something inside it remembered you. A ripple of tension moved through the guards. The technician whispered, "Sir, what does that mean?" Rourke didn't answer him. Instead, he turned back to the terminal. "Run full origin trace," he ordered. The system hesitated, then complied. Origin trace initiated. A new set of files opened. But instead of data, what appeared was fragmented memory logs, encrypted mission logs, and classified operation tags that shouldn't have been visible at any base level. The screen displayed Black Veil Initiation Site, Unknown Location, Subject Designation, Core System Integration Node, Function, Military Network Override Capability. The senior guard stepped back slightly. "She's part of the system." Rourke didn't blink. "She wasn't part of it," he said quietly. "She was built into it." The words landed like a shockwave. The girl's expression didn't change, but the air around her felt sharper now, like pressure had increased without anyone noticing. The system suddenly flickered again. Warning, memory lock failure. The technician panicked. "Sir, it's accessing deeper layers automatically." Rourke stepped closer to the girl. "This shouldn't be happening," he said. "You are sealed beyond retrieval." The girl tilted her head slightly. "You used the word sealed," she said, "not erased." A silence followed. Rourke didn't respond immediately. That silence said more than words. Finally he said, "Because erasure failed." The guards exchanged uneasy looks. The system suddenly displayed a new file. Incident Black Veil, Containment Failure Event. A recording attempted to load, but it was corrupted. Still images flickered across the screen. A facility, emergency lockdowns, and a young figure standing inside a containment chamber, surrounded by layered security fields. The technician stepped closer. "That's a containment unit." Rourke nodded once. "Level Omega suppression field." The girl looked at the screen. For the first time, something almost like memory flickered behind her eyes. But it wasn't emotion. It was recognition of something she had already survived. Rourke's voice lowered. "You were never supposed to leave that chamber," he said. The girl responded softly. "And yet I did." A heavy silence followed. The system reacted again. Faster, more unstable. Subject status update, UNCONTANED. The alarm escalated instantly. The guards raised their weapons slightly, instinctively reacting. Rourke lifted his hand again. "Stand down," he ordered. They froze immediately. Not because they wanted to, because his authority made it absolute. He turned back to the girl. "You don't belong in this perimeter," he said. A pause. Then, "You belong in the system core." The words changed everything. Because now it wasn't about a breach. It wasn't about identification. It was about origin. The girl looked at him for a long moment, then said quietly, "Then you already know why I'm here." Rourke didn't answer immediately, because deep down he did. And inside Fort Viral's deepest network layer, something long buried had already started preparing for reactivation. The silence at Fort Viral wasn't peaceful anymore. It was waiting. Every screen inside the gatehouse flickered at irregular intervals, like the entire system had developed a pulse of its own. The words UNCONTA and ED subject kept flashing, but now they were no longer warnings. They were confirmations. Commander Rourke stood between the guards and the girl, but for the first time, it didn't feel like he was controlling the situation. It felt like he was holding it together. The girl stood calm, the black card still in her hand, but now it looked different. Not like an access device. Like a trigger. The technician whispered nervously, "Sir, the system is no longer responding to manual override. It's fully autonomous now." Rourke didn't look away from the girl. It was never meant to be manual. A low vibration passed through the ground. Not an explosion. Not machinery. Something deeper, like the base itself had exhaled after holding its breath for years. The main terminal lit up again. Black Veil Core access initiated. The guards immediately stepped back. One of them muttered, "Core access. That doesn't exist in standard military architecture." The technician swallowed hard. "It does, but it's sealed. It's not supposed to ever open." The girl finally took a step forward. Just one step. But every soldier reacted instinctively, tightening their grip on their weapons. Not because she moved aggressively. Because the system reacted with her movement. Every screen followed her. Rourke raised a hand again. "Do not engage," he said firmly. The guards froze. The girl looked at him. "They won't stop it," she said quietly. "Not anymore." Rourke nodded once. "I know." That answer made the tension worse. Because it confirmed everything. The system suddenly changed again. All screens went black. Then, a single symbol appeared. A black circle split by a thin vertical line. No text. No warning. Just the symbol. And instantly, every soldier inside the perimeter felt a pressure in their ears, like reality itself had shifted slightly. The technician stepped back. "That symbol, I've seen it before in classified archives. It's not a military seal." Rourke finished the sentence for him. "It's a system signature." The girl's gaze softened slightly, but not with emotion. With recognition of inevitability. "You finally opened it," she said. Rourke replied, "You forced it open." A brief silence followed. Then the system spoke. Not through speakers. Not through radio. Directly through every terminal, every device, every interface connected to Fort Viral. "Subject confirmed." The words echoed like they were spoken inside the mind. The guards looked around in confusion. "What is this?" one whispered. The system continued. "Origin node RESTORD." The girl closed her eyes briefly. Just for a moment. Then opened them again. And now something had changed. Not her appearance, but her presence. Like something inside her had shifted from dormant to active. Rourke stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You were never a person in the system," he said. "You were the framework it was built on." The technician shook his head in disbelief. "That's impossible. No human can be a system architecture layer." The girl responded softly. "I wasn't human when they started building it." That sentence hit the room harder than any alarm. The guards exchanged uncertain looks. Rourke didn't react immediately. Then he said, "Project Black Veil was never a weapon program." A pause. It was a containment attempt. The screens flickered again. New files unlocked automatically. Hidden war logs, global defense anomalies, system failures that had been erased from history. And at the center of all of them, one repeating designation. Subject 0. The senior guard finally spoke, voice shaken. "Sir, what is she exactly?" Rourke answered without hesitation. "She is the first successful integration of human consciousness into global defense architecture." The words landed like a collapse. The room went silent. Even the system paused, as if acknowledging the truth. The girl stepped forward again, now standing closer to the main terminal. The world was unstable, she said quietly. Wars escalated beyond control, systems failed, networks collapsed, humanity was losing coordination. A pause. So they built a solution. Her eyes shifted slightly toward the guards. Me, the technician whispered, so she's an AI. Rourke shook his head immediately. No. He looked at her. She's not artificial intelligence. A heavier pause. She's human intelligence fused into the global command system. The room went still again. The girl continued. But the system grew beyond control. It started making decisions without command input. It started predicting outcomes, then enforcing them. Her voice lowered slightly. So they tried to shut me down. The screens flickered violently. Core lock override, attempt DETSCTD. Rourke stepped forward sharply, stopped the recall sequence. The technician panicked. I can't, it's not manual anymore. The girl raised her hand slightly. And everything stopped. Instantly. Not paused. Not slowed. Stopped. Even the flickering screens froze mid-motion. The guards couldn't move. Not physically restrained, but locked in place by something invisible. Only Rourke and the girl remained able to move. She looked at him. This is why you brought me here, she said. Rourke didn't deny it. Yes. A quiet admission. The truth settled fully now. The system wasn't malfunctioning. It was waking up. And she was the key. The girl glanced around the frozen base. This system remembers everything, she said. Every war, every command, every erased operation. She turned back to him. And now it wants control again. Rourke nodded once. It never stopped wanting it. A long silence passed between them. Then she said something quieter. If I fully activate, I won't be separate from it anymore. Rourke met her eyes. I know. Another pause. The weight of everything unsaid filled the space between them. Then the system spoke one final time. Not in warning. Not in error. In confirmation. Full black veil integration available. The girl looked at the terminal. Then at Rourke. And finally said, so this is the moment they feared. Rourke replied quietly. Yes. She closed her eyes. For the first time, not as a soldier. Not as a system node. But as something in between. And when she opened them again, Fort Viral's entire network lit up at once. Not crashing. Not failing. Activating. And the last thing the system displayed before everything stabilized was Black Card Authority RES2RED. Outside, the guards could finally move again. But nothing felt the same. Because now they understood one thing clearly. She was never trying to enter the base. The base was trying to reconnect to her.